In the misty valley of Baywa, where ancient traditions whispered through the wind and every stone seemed to remember a secret, the morning market buzzed with an unusual excitement. Traders shouted over their stalls, fishmongers slapped scales off gleaming fish, but in every huddle of gossiping women, there was only one subject on their tongues: the tragic fate of Lady Lyra of the Tran family. Did you hear? One vendor leaned in, lowering her voice dramatically. Lyra Tran died the night before her wedding. Gasps echoed among the women. But the Thorne family still came to collect her yesterday. In a coffin. They brought her back as if she were still their bride. A corpse bride. One young girl murmured, clutching her mother's sleeve. Exactly, the vendor nodded. She was promised to the eldest son of the Thorne family, Lord Kaelan. So even in death, she was bound to that fate. They said it was to honor the engagement, but I tell you, something dark is at play. Another woman, older and wiser with eyes like slits from years of watching too much, spoke up. I heard she didn't just die. They say she took poison forced into the marriage and too broken to resist. And yet, the old woman paused, leaning closer. She came back. The group froze. What do you mean came back? I mean exactly that. Lyra rose from her coffin. My husband works for the Thorns as a groundskeeper. He helped seal the coffin. He saw her body with his own eyes. But the next morning, she was walking the halls. Pale, quiet, but very much alive. The market fell into stunned silence, then broke into frantic whispers and fearful glances. Some crossed themselves. Others spat to ward off evil. They all knew the Thorne family. A dynasty older than the kingdom itself. Wealthy, yes, but cloaked in darkness. Their manor sat upon Ebon Ridge Hill, surrounded by stone walls, obsidian statues, and servants who never spoke. It was said the Thorns had once made pacts with forces older than man. Some said they still did. And now, this. A dead bride walking. Inside a dimly lit chamber at the Tran estate, Lady Lyra sat before an antique mirror. Her fingers trembled as they touched her reflection, one she did not recognize. This is not my face, she whispered. Her handmaid, Myra, stood behind her, concern etched across her young features. My lady. You seem troubled. Are you not feeling well? Lyra turned sharply. What did you call me? My lady, you are Lyra Tran, daughter of Lord Eldrick. Today, the Thorne family comes to receive you. No, she whispered, stepping away. I'm not her. My name is Elara. I'm a student. I live in the city. This is a dream or a nightmare or... Myra backed away slowly, her face blanching. I don't belong here. Elara cried. This isn't my life. I don't know this house, these clothes, this body. A thunderous knock shattered the air. The heavy oak door creaked open, and a stern man with a cruel expression entered. Lord Eldrick Tran. His eyes were cold as steel. You will behave, he barked. Do not disgrace this family more than you already have. Elara flinched as he slapped her hard across the cheek. Myra gasped. You are the bride of the Thorn heir, he growled. And you will go with them, even if it is in chains. As he stormed out, Myra rushed to help Elara, but she recoiled. Where am I? She whispered again. Why me? Outside, the sky had turned a sickly shade of gray, as if mourning what was to come. At the gate, a dark carriage adorned with the thorn crest and Ouroboros coiled around a black sun awaited. Elara's thoughts raced. Moments ago, she had been on a school bus, returning from a field trip to the mysterious Mount Amendar, a site known for strange disappearances. She remembered the cold breath of something brushing against her neck, the glimpse of a child in old clothes staring through the fog, then darkness. Now, she was trapped in another girl's body, in another time a body that had already died. I need to wake up, she told herself. I need to get out. But as the carriage door opened, and the driver bowed low, beckoning her in, she realized this wasn't a dream. This was her new reality. That evening, in the Manor of the Thorns, preparations were already underway. Candles were lit in every hall. Flowers were laid at the altar. But in the grand hall, the Thorn brothers stood in silence. Callan Thorn, the eldest, stared into the hearth, his jaw clenched. Beside him, his younger brothers Valen and Dorian exchanged grim glances. She's not supposed to be alive, Valen said. No, Dorian whispered, but she is. Callan turned, his eyes burning like embers. Then we do what must be done. Outside, the wind howled. And the storm began. The wind outside the Thorn Manor screamed through the trees like a chorus of lost souls. Inside the ancient structure, Elara sat in her assigned chamber, a lavish room covered in red silk and black velvet, illuminated only by flickering candlelight. Everything in this place felt like it had been plucked from a storybook, or a nightmare. She paced the room, barefoot and trembling, her thoughts spiraling. This isn't just a dream. This is something else. Some kind of possession. A ritual. Or worse. I'm dead, and this is hell. The mirror on the far wall seemed to shimmer. For a fleeting moment, her reflection moved when she didn't. Her heart stopped. Then it smiled. She ran toward it, just her reflection again. Still, too still. A soft knock echoed from the door. It creaked open to reveal Myra, her handmaid, holding a folded set of crimson garments. My lady, the ceremonial dress for tonight's rites. rites. Elara blinked. What rites? The Thorn family honors the spirits of their ancestors the night before any union, Myra replied softly. You are expected to attend. The temple is atop Mount Amendar. Elara's breath hitched. That name again. Mount Amendar. It was the very place from her own world, the one her class had planned to visit before she blacked out. That mountain, there's something wrong with it. Myra hesitated. Many say the mountain listens. That it remembers. It is where the veil is thinnest. The veil. Between the living and the dead. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the sky turned the color of spilled blood. Elara was escorted in a silent procession up the winding path of Mount Amendar. Torches lit the way, but the darkness between them seemed alive. She wasn't alone. The other Thorns walked ahead, dressed in ceremonial robes. The brothers Kalen, Valen, and Dorian. The matron Lady Thalia Thorn, cloaked in obsidian silk. And behind her, shadowy figures whose faces were veiled. Elara walked with Myra beside her, but her gaze kept drifting into the trees. Something moved in their pale figures, watching, whispering in voices that weren't voices. Halfway up the trail, she stumbled. A small, bony hand caught her arm. She gasped, turning. There was a child standing there. A girl. Her eyes were completely white. Her skin was gray, and her dress was from another era. Before Elara could scream, the girl put a finger to her lips. "Shhh," the child whispered. "They'll hear you." "Who?" The girl looked past her, toward the trees. They never stop watching. You took her place. The bride. But they won't let you leave. What are you talking about? Elara demanded. You're not the first, the girl said. You won't be the last. But you have a chance. The mountain chose you. And then the girl vanished, melting into the air like mist. At the summit, the ancient temple loomed. It was carved into the mountainside, etched with symbols Elara could not recognize but which made her skin crawl. She was led to an altar, a massive slab of black stone ringed with bones. The Thorns began chanting in a language no longer spoken. Elara's head spun. Her breath quickened. The wind around her grew colder. She stepped forward, trembling. But then she saw something. A massive stone mural, carved into the wall behind the altar. It depicted 49 women, each wearing ceremonial garb, bound and silent, their eyes covered with long locks of hair. Above them, a single figure, a crowned man with a serpent in one hand and fire in the other. A line of blood-red text was etched beneath it. 49 brides for eternal life. Bound to the mountain. Never to be free. Elara turned to Myra. What is this? Myra's lips trembled. The truth. Then everything happened at once. Lightning cracked the sky. The wind howled with a voice. And the ground trembled. Suddenly, Elara was yanked backward. Hands cold and hard as stone gripped her arms. It was Kalen, face like iron. She's waking up, he growled. The soul is stirring. Wait, what do you mean? Elara screamed. You're not Lyra, he spat. But she's still in there. Her soul. And if she wakes up, the mountain will take you both. I don't understand. You were brought here by mistake, said Lady Thalia, stepping from the shadows. But now you must fulfill her fate. Or be consumed by it. The ground beneath the altar split open. Black fog billowed out. And from the chasm came whispers. Dozens of them. Female voices. Sobbing. Begging. Screaming. Elara fell to her knees, clutching her head. She saw visions. Brides with bloodied hands. Coffins hung from cliffs. Eyes gouged out. Tongues cut. The thorns chanted louder. And Lyra, the original soul of the body, screamed inside Elara's mind. Get out. Get out. Suddenly, the mountain shook violently. A wave of energy burst from the altar, knocking everyone to the ground. When the dust settled, Elara stood alone. But not quite alone. Floating before her was the ghost of Lyra. Dressed in tattered red, eyes black as voids, and a smile that did not belong to the living. You took my place, she whispered. Now you must see what I saw. Elara collapsed, and the world went black once more. Elara awoke to darkness, not just a lack of light, but an all-consuming void pressing in from every side. Her breath caught. She was lying in something tight, something wooden. Her fingertips brushed velvet above her face. Then came the unmistakable sound of nails scratching wood. Panic ignited in her chest. No, 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 no. This is a coffin. She kicked, screamed, punched. Her fists pounded the wooden lid as if her life depended on it, which it did. Every breath she took became thinner. The air was running out. She remembered now Lyra's spirit had appeared. The thorns had summoned something, and then nothing. She had blacked out. And now this. Buried alive. Or worse, entombed, sacrificed like the others. In a final burst of desperate fury, she clawed at the lid with her nails until something snapped. A crack of light appeared. Then a hand, no, dozens of hands reached down and tore the lid free. She gasped in air, coughing violently. Rain hit her face. Thunder roared above. Elara sat up in the coffin, finding herself not underground, but on the edge of a cliff. She looked around wildly. Dozens of coffins hung from the side of the mountain, tethered to black ropes. She had been placed among them. A hanging grave. Figures surrounded her cloaked in crimson. The same red ceremonial garb she had seen on the thorns. But these people weren't alive. Their eyes were clouded white. Their skin, bluish gray. Their movements, stiff and ritualistic. Ghosts. No, something worse. One of them stepped forward, a tall man, crowned with a wreath of bone and cypress. His voice was a hollow echo. You rose too early. Elara's lips trembled. Who are you? We are the Watchers of the Covenant. 49 lives were promised to the mountain, to the old pact. You are the 50th. The one to balance what was broken. I never agreed to any of this. She shouted. You took her place. Her soul is not at rest. And you have crossed the veil. Behind the ghosts, she saw something approach. It was Myra. But not the Myra she knew. This Myra's face was split at the mouth, jaw hanging unnaturally wide. Her eyes were pitch black, her fingers elongated into claws. Elara, it rasped. You shouldn't have woken up. Elara stumbled back, nearly falling over the edge. Her mind spun. Just then, the wind carried a voice, her grandmother's. Elara, listen to me. She froze. Remember the necklace. Remember the curse. She reached into her dress, grasping the chain around her neck. The silver pendant was glowing faintly warm against her chest. Suddenly, the ghost stopped moving. The Myra creature recoiled, screeching. Elara stood up. I'm not your sacrifice. She ripped the necklace from her neck and pressed it into her palm. The mountain seemed to rumble in response. The ghosts began to vanish one by one, dissolving into red mist. The air thinned. The sky cracked with lightning. And Elara collapsed. She awoke later in a strange place, a candlelit room carved into stone. It was cold, damp, and smelled of lavender and ash. A woman sat at her side. Not a ghost. Not a servant. Someone new. She wore a gown of woven black feathers, her face half covered by a veil. Her voice was calm, melodic, but commanding. You should be dead, she said. I feel like I am, Elara groaned. The woman poured tea into a carved bowl and handed it to her. Drink this. You crossed into the realm between. Few return. Elara hesitated. Who are you? My name is Virel. I am what remains of the last bride who escaped the fate you now face. The thorns didn't kill me, but they erased me. I live in the cracks between life and death. Elara drank. Warmth returned to her limbs. Her mind sharpened. I saw Lyra, she said. Her spirit. She wants me gone. She wants peace, Virel replied. But she doesn't understand. She thinks your soul is the thief. In truth, it was the thorns who bound her here. Just like they did to us. How many of you? 49, Virel said. You are the 50th. But you are different. You were not chosen by them, you were chosen by the mountain. Elara's heart thudded. Then I can break the curse. Perhaps. But only if you reach the crypt beneath the thorn estate. Only there can the chain be severed. Later that night, Virel led her through hidden tunnels beneath Mount Amendar. They crawled through damp corridors filled with ancient carving symbols Elara now recognized from the ceremony. At the end of the path was a doorway covered in bones. Beyond it, the crypt. Elara stepped inside alone. The walls were lined with urns, each labeled with names. Lyra's was near the center. She approached, heart pounding. Suddenly, a blast of cold air swept through the room and Lyra appeared again. But this time, she looked different. She was crying. You're not like them, she said softly. You tried to fight. Elara nodded. I didn't mean to take your place. I know, Lyra whispered. But now we are bound. If you die, I go with you. If you survive, maybe we both can live again. What do I do? Free the others, Lyra said, pointing to the urns. Set us all free. Elara touched the first urn. It burned with red light and then vanished. The ground shook. The walls groaned. Behind her, the thorns arrived. Kaelin, Dorian, Valen, and Lady Thalia. You foolish girl, Thalia hissed. You have no idea what you've undone. Elara clenched her fists. Yes, I do. And with that, she smashed Lyra's urn. The crypt exploded in light. And everything went white. The white light faded slowly, too slowly. It wasn't like waking up. It was more like being dragged from one dream into another. When Elara opened her eyes, she wasn't in the crypt anymore. She was lying in a dense forest clearing, bathed in moonlight. The air was heavy, almost sacred. The trees were tall and ancient, their twisted roots forming altars and arches. There were no stars, only a single red moon hovering above. Lyra's voice echoed from somewhere unseen. You're in the in-between now, the seam between past and future, death and rebirth. Elara stood up slowly. Her body ached. Her hands were scraped, her feet bare. But the necklace was still around her neck, burning with a faint red glow. She took a step forward. The ground pulsed beneath her feet, like something alive. Then the whispers started again. Soft at first, like wind through leaves. Then louder. More voices. Feminine. Familiar. Elara. Hell. Free us. Suddenly, the forest opened into a massive stone terrace. At its center was a mirror, twice her height, framed in bone and gold. In it, she saw herself. But not just herself. 7 versions of her stared back, each dressed differently, each with a different expression. Some calm. Some crying. One was laughing, but her teeth were black. She staggered back. What is this? A voice answered, not Lyra's this time. It was Lady Thalia Thorn. This is the mirror of transgression, the matriarch said, stepping from the shadows. Where each soul reflects what it's done. Or will do. But I didn't choose this. Elara shouted. Didn't you? Thalia tilted her head. Your bloodline did. You carry the seed of one who broke the pact centuries ago. That's why the mountain pulled you in. You are the flaw and the key. I don't care about your pact. I just want to go home. Thalia smiled. And leave 49 souls behind. Leave Lyra screaming in silence for all eternity. Elara's fists clenched. I won't leave anyone behind. Without warning, the mirror cracked. Each of the 7 reflections shattered, sending shards flying across the terrace. From each shard rose a spectral form, women in bridal dresses, veils stained red, eyes black with torment. The air turned frigid. The ground trembled. A trial had begun. The spirits circled Elara, whispering, you must see what we saw, live what we lived. She fell to her knees, and the world spun. She was no longer in the forest. Now, she was a bride but not herself. She wore a silk gown embroidered with golden thread. People cheered as she was led to a palanquin, but something felt wrong. Inside the palanquin, the world turned cold. She peeked through the curtain only to realize the trees were gone. They were climbing a mountain. The same mountain. But not as ruins. This was Mount Amendar hundreds of years ago, in full glory. The temple stood bright, adorned with red lanterns. Drums echoed from every peak. Then silence. Then the screaming. Ilara's bridal self was dragged out of the palanquin and laid upon a stone altar surrounded by priests in black robes and thorns with blank expressions. They slit her wrists. They collected her blood in bowls. They stitched her mouth closed. They offered her to the flame. Elara awoke again, gasping, back in the forest clearing. Lyra knelt beside her. "That was me," Lyra said softly. "That was what they did." Elara was crying now. "How do I stop it?" "You already started. The crypt, the urns. You shattered the seal. But now you must finish it." Lyra stood and pointed toward the mirror. "There is one more soul bound to the mountain. One more who must be freed." Elara followed her gaze only to see her own reflection in the mirror again. Her real reflection. This time, her eyes were glowing red. "No," she whispered. "Yes," Lyra replied. "You're bound too. When you crossed over, when you stepped into my body, you became part of the curse." Elara backed away, horrified. "Then, am I doomed too?" "Not if you undo the ritual. Not if you burn the heart stone." "What heart stone?" Lyra held out her hand and in it appeared a jagged crimson gem, throbbing with life. "This. It is what the thorns used to channel the energy of the sacrifices. Destroy it, and the pact collapses." "Where is it?" "Beneath the throne. The Thorn Manor." Lyra nodded. "Deep under the Great Hall. But it is guarded." "By who?" "By the first thorn." Just then, a horn sounded in the distance, long, deep, unnatural. The forest quaked. "They're coming," Lyra said. "The thorns know you've crossed the threshold. They will try to stop you. They will offer you anything, your life, your past, your family, just to keep the pact alive." "I won't bargain," Elara said firmly. "Then you must run. Now." Elara bolted through the forest. Trees reached for her. Shadows screamed her name. The red moon blazed above. Behind her, the thorns pursued. Kaelin, sword in hand, eyes glowing with bloodlust. Balin, summoning wraiths with every step. Lady Thalia, chanting the words of old magic. But Elara had something they didn't. Purpose. The spirits of the other brides followed her, no longer wailing, no longer cursed. They blazed like lanterns, forming a path toward the Thorn Estate, toward the final confrontation, toward the Heartstone. The manor rose like a monolith against the blood-stained sky. From the outside, it looked almost majestic, walls of jet black marble, statues of hooded figures flanking the gate, and high-arched windows like hollow eyes watching the land. But to Elara, the Thorn estate was not a home. It was a mausoleum built atop the bones of the betrayed. She approached slowly, heart pounding in rhythm with the heartbeat of the mountain. With each step, the silver pendant against her chest pulsed brighter, casting a flickering red glow onto the dirt path. Behind her, the specters of the 49 brides followed in silence. They no longer wept or begged. They had purpose now. Vengeance. The ancient oak doors opened on their own, groaning under the weight of centuries. Inside, the house breathed. Walls shifted ever so slightly. The chandeliers swayed without wind. Portraits watched without blinking. She stepped into the grand foyer. The ceiling stretched to the heavens, adorned with a mural of a man cloaked in gold, feeding fire to a serpent. The man's face was unmistakable. It was etched into every wall, carved into every column, Aldred Thorn the founder. And beneath him, in chains, were the brides. Elara pressed on through the corridors, passing tapestries soaked in time and blood. She reached the great hall. There, a celebration was underway. Dozens of nobles sat around a long table, their faces blank, expressions unmoving. Goblets were raised mid-toast. Laughter was frozen mid-breath. But they weren't alive. Each guest was a carefully preserved corpse, dressed in decadent garb, their skin waxen and cracked. At the head of the table sat Lady Thalia Thorn, eyes closed, hands folded. When Elara stepped forward, Thalia's eyes snapped open. "You made it," she said calmly. "I had hoped you'd run. You would have lived a longer life. Then why invite me here?" Elara demanded. "Because I wanted to see if you were strong enough." Thalia rose from her seat. "And it appears, you are. Where is the Heartstone?" "In the crypt," Thalia replied. "Below the throne." "But you know that already. You've seen it in your dreams, haven't you?" Elara didn't respond. Thalia smiled. "Before you go, allow me to offer you a choice." A side door creaked open. Two figures were shoved into the room bound and gagged. Elara's breath caught. It was her mother and younger brother from her real life. "What how?" "We have access to more than one realm," Thalia said. "We reached across the veil to retrieve them. Lovely people. So devoted to you." Elara's knees nearly buckled. "You're lying." Thalia tilted her head. "I don't need to lie, child. If you burn the Heartstone, the pact ends. The brides go free, but so does the mountain's wrath. Your family will be swallowed, along with everything else." "No. Choose," Thalia said gently. "Sacrifice them, or walk away. Return to your time. Let the pact continue. The brides are dead anyway. What's one more generation of silence? Elara stepped forward. The bride stepped with her. Thalia's eyes narrowed. You would risk everything. Elara whispered, they're not just brides. They were people. They had lives. You stole that. Now I'm stealing it back. Lightning cracked outside. The chandeliers burst into flames. The corpses at the table turned their heads slowly toward Elara. The ground quaked. And then Lyra appeared. Her ghost form stepped forward, standing between Elara and Thalia. She speaks for us all, Lyra said. The time has come. Thalia shrieked, her face warping, her body twisting into a shadowed mass. Then die with them. The floor split open. Elara fell. Tumbled. Down through layers of bone, ash, and stone. She landed in a circular chamber carved from obsidian. In the center, the heart stone. It hovered above a black pedestal, suspended in mid-air, swirling with crimson mist. Around it, hundreds of symbols glowed faintly, runes of binding, of longevity, of unholy exchange. A voice rumbled through the chamber. You are not worthy. From the shadows stepped Aldred Thorne, a spectre draped in gold-stitched robes, his eyes twin black stars. You broke the seal, he said. You disturbed my offering. You murdered them, Elara hissed. I gave them eternity. You enslaved them. Aldred raised a skeletal hand. Then take it from me if you dare. The chamber ignited in red light. From the walls, hands emerged, skeletal, grasping, clawing. Elara ran toward the heartstone, but a wave of energy knocked her back. She struck the wall, dazed. Lyra's voice echoed again. The necklace. Use it. Elara reached into her blouse, yanked the pendant free. It blazed like a comet. She hurled it toward the heartstone. The two artifacts collided. And the world exploded. A scream tore through the manor, not from a human throat, but something ancient, something buried. The sky split open. The mountain roared. The souls of the 49 brides burst from the house, flying upward in pillars of light. Thalia collapsed in the great hall, her body shriveling. Aldred howled in the crypt, his form dissolving into ash. And Elara fell into darkness once again. She awoke in a bed. A hospital bed. Beeping monitors. White lights. A nurse leaned over her. She's awake. The nurse called. She's back. Her mother rushed in, sobbing. Elara. Her brother followed, clutching a get-well card. Elara stared at them, overwhelmed. It was real. She was back. But when she glanced at her wrist, she saw the faint outline of a burn, in the shape of the heart stone. And from the window, far in the distance, Mount Amendar still stood silent and waiting. The scent of antiseptic and plastic greeted Elara as she stared at the ceiling of the hospital room. The heart monitor beeped rhythmically, and fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Her mother sat slumped in a chair beside the bed, asleep but holding Elara's hand with a grip that hadn't loosened in hours. Elara moved her fingers. Pain. Real. She was truly back. But as she turned her head and caught her reflection in the darkened window, her blood ran cold. A face stared back at her. Her own face, but not. The eyes were darker, deeper. Behind the glass, the reflection didn't blink when she did. It only smiled. Elara jolted upright just as the nurse walked in. "You're lucky," the nurse said gently. "You were found at the edge of the road, just outside Mount Amendar. A hiker saw you collapse." Elara blinked. "How long?" "You've been unconscious for 3 days." 3 days. It felt like lifetimes. Later that evening, she sat by the hospital window alone. Her mother had gone to fill out discharge forms. The air grew cold again, unnaturally so. Elara clutched her necklace only to realize it was gone. In its place was a faint scar etched into her chest. A circle with 7 slashes through it. 7 lives. 7 brides. 7 chances. She remembered what Lyra had said before the end. "You're bound to." Did she break the curse or only complete her part in it? That night, Elara returned home to her apartment. Everything was familiar: her books, her desk lamp, the half-eaten bag of trail mix still on the counter. But she noticed something strange. All the mirrors in her apartment were covered. Every single one. She didn't remember doing that. She reached to remove the sheet from her bathroom mirror but hesitated. Instead, she lifted just the corner. Inside the mirror was her reflection again. But this time, it wore a red bridal veil. She dropped the sheet. The next morning, Elara visited the university to meet with her history professor, Dr. Kashin Yu, a kind older man who specialized in folklore and Southeast Asian antiquity. "I need to ask you something," she said urgently. "Do you know anything about a ritual involving 49 brides and a mountain temple?" His eyes narrowed. "Mount Amendar?" "Yes." He stood slowly, walked to a locked drawer, and pulled out a dusty folder. "I never expected to hear a student ask that." This was supposed to be part of a lost civilization. Forbidden rites. I've collected accounts from locals. They speak of a noble family, ancient, powerful, who sacrificed women under the pretense of marriage. It's said they practiced soul binding, immortality through pain. Elara's heart pounded. The family. Were they called the Thorns? You froze. No, he whispered. But they were known as Nhattoc, the First Blood. The Thorns may have been their westernized descendants. And the ritual, did anyone ever stop it? He shook his head. They say someone tried, and vanished. But the rites were never undone. Only, relocated. The mountain has kept its silence since. Elara exhaled. I was there. What? She explained. Everything. Lyra. The ghosts. The Heartstone. Her journey. Her fall. Her awakening. When she finished, you stared at her a long while. Then he turned around and pulled a cloth from a canvas he had hidden in the back of his office. It was an old painting. It showed a girl standing before a throne, surrounded by spirits. A broken heartstone in one hand, and flames in the other. The girl's face. Elara's. But this is impossible, she whispered. How is this possible? You looked at her, his voice trembling. Because this is not the first time you've lived. That night, Elara dreamt of coffins. Not empty ones, but occupied. Each hanging from the cliffs of Mount Amendar. Each glowing softly. Each humming with voices trapped, echoing, waiting. In the final row, she saw her own name. She screamed herself awake. And someone was sitting in the corner of her room. It was Myra. But this wasn't the same handmaid. This Myra wore jeans, a leather jacket, and a silver ring on her middle finger etched with ancient runes. You broke it, Myra said. You're alive. Elara gasped. I never died, Myra replied. I was a protector of the brides. A sleeper among them. You did what we couldn't. Elara's head spun. Then why are you here now? Because something went wrong. What? You freed the souls. But you didn't destroy the root. Elara's mouth went dry. The Heartstone was just a conduit. The root lies deeper. Beneath the mountain. Beneath the world. Beneath you. The temperature in the room dropped. Elara felt it. A presence. The mirror cracked. Myra drew a curved blade from her coat. They're coming for you, Elara. The curse wants you back. Elara's voice was a whisper. What do I do? Myra looked her straight in the eyes. We finish it? Once and for all. The night was thick with a suffocating silence as Elara and Myra stood at the base of Mount Amandar, the imposing silhouette of the cursed mountain casting a shadow like a claw across the moonlit earth. The cold air nipped at their skin, carrying whispers of the souls trapped within. Are you ready? Myra asked, tightening the grip on the ancient blade strapped to her side. Her eyes glinted with determination, but also a hint of fear. Elara nodded, clutching the scar on her chest where the heartstone's mark still faintly burned. I have to be. Together, they stepped onto the narrow stone path carved into the mountainside, a path that had claimed countless lives over the centuries. The air grew heavier with each step, thickening as if the mountain itself was breathing, watching. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet trembled violently. The brittle leaves whispered warnings, and shadows danced around them, twisting into shapes that resembled the bride's ghostly figures, their hollow eyes begging silently for release. A sudden flash of lightning revealed a crumbling archway ahead, the entrance to the crypt beneath the mountain. As they crossed the threshold, darkness swallowed them whole. Inside the crypt, the walls pulsed with a sinister life, etched with ancient runes glowing faintly red. The air smelled of decay and forgotten promises. Countless coffins, some shattered, others perfectly preserved, lined the walls like silent witnesses. This place, Elara whispered, it's like the mountain's heart. Myra's face was grim. It's worse. It's a prison built on betrayal and blood. Suddenly, the floor shifted. A deep voice echoed around them, ancient and malevolent. You dare trespass, child of the broken pact. From the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in midnight, eyes burning like dying stars, the spirit of Aldred, the first thorn, guardian of the curse. His presence radiated cold wrath and boundless sorrow. Elara's pulse quickened. We're here to end this. Aldred laughed, a sound like shattered glass. End. You only prolong your torment. The air crackled. The spirits of the 49 brides materialized, swirling around him, their chains glowing with cursed fire. Myra stepped forward, brandishing her blade. You won't stop us. A fierce battle erupted. Elara ducked as ghostly hands lashed out, and Myra's blade cut through ethereal chains, freeing one spirit after another. The bride's anguished cries transformed into cries of hope, their forms becoming more solid with each release. But Aldred was relentless. With a wave of his skeletal hand, the crypt transformed into a labyrinth of shadows and mirrors, forcing Elara and Myra to face reflections of their deepest fears, visions of failure, loss, and eternal imprisonment. Elara's reflection morphed into the image of Lyra, pleading and accusing. You're stealing our fate. Tears stung Elara's eyes. No. I'm giving you freedom. Fighting despair, Elara focused on the necklace glowing in her palm. She felt its power pulse stronger, resonating with the spirits. "Use it," Myra urged. Gathering all her strength, Elara thrust the pendant toward a towering mirror at the center of the labyrinth. The mirror shattered, releasing a shockwave that shattered the chains binding the brides and banished Aldred's spirit into oblivion. As the crypt calmed, the trapped brides gathered around Elara, their eyes full of gratitude. "You have broken the curse," Lyra's spirit said softly, "but the mountain's secrets are deeper than even we knew." Suddenly, the ground shook, a fissure opening beneath their feet. "Run!" Myra shouted. Elara sprinted with the brides following. The crypt began collapsing, stones falling like rain. They burst out into the fresh night air, the first rays of dawn painting the sky. Elara looked back at Mount Amendar, feeling the weight of centuries lift. But in her heart, she knew this was only the beginning. The dawn light spilled over the jagged peaks of Mount Amendar, casting long shadows across the valley. Elara stood at the mountain's base, breathing heavily, the cold morning air stinging her lungs. The bride's spirits, now freed from their earthly chains, shimmered around her like ethereal lanterns, their faces serene but marked with sorrow that centuries could not erase. Yet, despite the victory, a deep unease settled in Elara's heart. Something was wrong. The pendant around her neck pulsed erratically, its glow flickering like a dying flame. Suddenly, a chill breeze whispered through the trees, carrying with it voices soft, insidious, familiar. "Elara." She spun, heart pounding, but the brides were silent. "Who's there?" she demanded, her voice cracking. From the shadows stepped a figure, tall and cloaked, face obscured beneath a hood. The air around him shimmered with a dark energy, and his eyes gleamed with cold amusement. "Not all debts are paid so easily," the stranger said, voice low and gravelly. "The mountain's curse is ancient, yes. But it is only one strand in a web far darker." Elara tightened her grip on the pendant. "Who are you?" He lowered his hood, revealing a face pale and gaunt, yet unnervingly youthful. "Darius, the last surviving heir of the Nhattoc bloodline, the original architects of the curse, thought long extinct." "I am what remains of the pact," Darius said. "The one who ensures it endures until the last piece is returned." Elara stepped back, realizing that her battle was far from over. As the brides faded into the morning mist, Elara turned to Myra, who appeared tense, her eyes scanning the forest. "We thought breaking the Heartstone would end it," Myra said, voice grim. "But Darius, he's a tether to the curse itself. If he's here, it means the real danger is just beginning." Suddenly, the ground trembled again, and from the forest depths rose twisted forms, shadows and specters, neither fully dead nor alive, bound by chains of darkness. "The cursed spawn," Myra whispered. "The mountain's vengeful guardians." Elara braced herself, drawing the pendant close. The spirits around her rose, swirling protectively. "Then we fight," Elara said, determination blazing in her eyes. "For them. For us. For the future." The battle was brutal. Dark creatures lunged, claws tearing at the air, teeth snapping mere inches from Elara's face. Myra slashed with her blade, cutting through shadow and bone, chanting ancient incantations that lit the clearing with blue fire. Elara felt the pendant burn hot against her chest, its power awakening something deep inside her, something ancestral and fierce. She closed her eyes, focusing on the pain, the memories of the brides, the hope of freedom. A radiant light exploded from the pendant, washing over the battlefield in waves. The cursed spawn screamed, dissolving into ash and mist. Darius staggered back, fury twisting his features. "You may have destroyed their chains, but the root of this curse lies within you." Elara gasped. "Within me?" He nodded slowly. "The bloodline, the souls. They flow through your veins. You are both the key and the lock." That night, Elara lay awake, haunted by visions of past lives, faces she recognized, memories not her own. She saw herself in lavish gowns, in dark crypts, in flames and water. She saw betrayals, sacrifices, loves lost and found. And always, the mountain watching. Myra sat beside her, silent but vigilant. "Who am I, really?" Elara finally whispered. "You are the last hope," Myra answered. "But also the last burden." Elara's fingers brushed the scar on her chest. "The mountain's bloodline, it's mine." The next morning, a messenger arrived at Elara's door, a sealed letter embossed with the NHATTOC insignia. She broke the seal and read, "The path forward is not through destruction, but through understanding. Seek the archivist beneath the city. Only she holds the knowledge to sever the curse without cost." Elara's eyes narrowed. "Then we have a new journey." The city beneath Mount Amendar was a labyrinth of twisting alleys and ancient stone corridors, where shadows lingered like old memories and the air smelled of forgotten secrets. Elara and Myra descended into this hidden world, guided only by the cryptic letter and a sense of urgency pulsing in their veins. Their footsteps echoed softly as they approached a heavy wooden door carved with symbols of time and fate. Myra knocked thrice, and the door creaked open, revealing a small chamber lined with towering shelves packed with dusty scrolls, leather-bound tomes, and glowing crystals. A woman emerged from the shadows, her hair silver as moonlight, eyes sharp and knowing. She was the archivist, keeper of lost knowledge and guardian of forgotten truths. "Elara Thorn," she said, voice like the rustle of parchment. "You carry the weight of centuries." Elara bowed her head. "I seek to end the curse that binds my family and free the souls trapped by the mountain's shadow." The archivist nodded solemnly. "The curse is older and deeper than you know. It was born not just of sacrifice, but of betrayal and a pact made with forces beyond mortal understanding." She gestured to a large tome on the table, its pages alive with shifting symbols. To break the curse, you must understand its roots, how it began and why it persists. But knowledge alone is not enough. You will face trials that test your heart, mind, and soul. As the archivist began to recount the tale, Elara learned of the ancient pact. Centuries ago, her ancestors, desperate to preserve their power and lives, bargained with a dark entity from the nether realm. They promised 49 brides as eternal offerings in exchange for immortality and dominion over the land. But the bargain came at a terrible price. The brides' souls were trapped between worlds, their suffering fueling the mountain's dark power. Attempts to break the curse in the past failed because the bloodline itself was intertwined with the entity's essence. Elara was both the heir and the key, her very existence a living reminder of the pact. Suddenly, the chamber's shadows deepened. The air grew cold. The archivist's eyes darkened. "They know you seek this knowledge," she warned. "Darius and his minions will come. They fear what you might uncover." Just then, a piercing scream echoed through the corridors. The walls trembled. "Elara!" Myra shouted. "They're here." From the darkness poured twisted figures, spectral assassins with glowing eyes and weapons forged from shadow. Elara grasped the pendant, feeling its warmth surge through her. The archivist chanted a spell, summoning a protective barrier as the assassins crashed against it, their forms dissolving into mist. "You must leave," the archivist said urgently. "Find the 7 seals artifacts scattered across realms that can sever the ties binding your bloodline to the curse." Elara's gaze hardened. "Where do I begin?" The archivist handed her a small, intricately carved box containing a map and ancient parchment that shimmered with magical light. "Begin where the first seal sleeps, in the ruins of Evanspire, a fortress lost to time and shadow." Elara took the map, her resolve unshakable. "This ends with me." As they fled the chamber, the city seemed to watch them, silent, knowing, waiting. Elara and Myra emerged from the hidden chamber beneath the city, the ancient map burning softly in Elara's palm like a living heartbeat. The weight of her bloodline pressed down, but so did a fierce determination to sever the curse once and for all. The journey to Evanspire, the ruined fortress whispered about in legends and nightmares, would be their first trial. The road ahead wound through dense forests cloaked in mist and shadow. The trees whispered secrets of lost souls and ancient betrayals. Elara's mind raced with memories, not her own fleeting flashes of past lives where she walked these lands centuries ago, wearing gowns stained with blood and tears. At night, the sky was a dark canvas streaked with cold stars, and Elara and Myra camped beneath twisted branches. Around a fire, Myra shared tales passed down through the generations, stories of the 7 seals, powerful artifacts forged in the dawn of the pact, each imbued with unique magic capable of unraveling the threads of the curse. Days passed. The forest grew darker, and the air thicker with unseen eyes watching their every step. On the 3rd day, as the sun dipped below the horizon, they arrived at the outskirts of the Evanspire ruins. The fortress loomed like a jagged wound against the sky, its broken towers clawing upward as if begging for salvation. At the gate, a riddle was inscribed in ancient script. Only those who carry the blood of the fallen may enter unscathed. Elara touched her pendant, feeling a pulse echoing through her veins, a bloodline both cursed and powerful. They stepped inside. The halls of Ebonspear were cold and silent, lined with shattered statues and faded murals depicting the Nhatto's Stark Pact. Shadows flickered, and the walls seemed to breathe. Suddenly, the ground gave way beneath them, plunging them into an underground chamber bathed in eerie blue light. At the center rested a pedestal carved from black obsidian, and atop it, the first seal, a crystalline shard glowing with pulsing energy, wrapped in ethereal chains. Guarding the seal was a spectral guardian, a towering figure clad in rusted armor, eyes burning with eternal fire. "You who seek to break the pact must prove your worth," it intoned, voice echoing like thunder. Elara stepped forward, her voice steady. "I carry the bloodline. I am the heir. I seek to free the souls bound by this curse." The guardian nodded. "Then face your trial." The chamber transformed into a maze of illusions, each corner revealing moments from Elara's past lives, betrayals, sacrifices, heartbreaks, and fleeting joys. She relived the night Lyra was forced to her death, the silent screams of the brides, the cold hand of death tightening around her own heart. At each vision, Elara was tempted to turn away, to give in to despair. But she pressed on, drawing strength from the memories, the lives that had come before her, and the hope that this could be the last cycle. At the maze's heart, Elara found herself facing a mirror that showed not her reflection but a dark, twisted version of herself, a shadowy figure grinning with malice and wielding a broken heartstone. "You are the curse," the figure whispered. "Without me, you cannot survive." Elara's resolve hardened. "You're a part of me, yes. But you will not control me." With a cry, she shattered the mirror with her pendant, the shards dissolving into sparks of light. The chains binding the first seal shattered, and Elara grasped the crystalline shard. A surge of energy coursed through her, pain and power entwined. As they prepared to leave, the chamber trembled. From the darkness, the voice of Darius echoed. "You may have claimed the first, but the curse runs deeper than your courage. The next seals lie guarded by death itself." The chamber collapsed, rocks falling like rain, as Elara and Myra barely escaped. Outside, under a sky swirling with storm clouds, Elara looked toward the horizon. 6 more seals. 6 more trials. And a destiny she could no longer deny. The storm that had chased Elara and Myra from the ruins of Ebonspear roared overhead as they trekked through a dense forest, the trees bending beneath the furious wind. The sky churned with black clouds, lightning slicing through the darkness like jagged scars. In her hand, Elara clutched the crystalline shard, the first seal, its pulse steady but insistent, a beacon guiding her toward the next artifact. Beside her, Myra's face was grim, her eyes scanning the shadows with caution. "The second seal lies within the caverns of whispers, a place where the veil between the living and the dead thins dangerously." Elara nodded. Then we must be ready for anything. As they approached the cavern's entrance, a chilling silence engulfed them, broken only by the faint echo of distant, sorrowful voices carried on the wind. The air smelled of damp earth and ancient decay. Inside, the caverns twisted into labyrinthine tunnels, walls slick with moisture and etched with eerie runes that seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. A soft, haunting melody drifted through the air, weaving around them like a spell. Suddenly, ghostly figures emerged from the shadows, lost souls of those who had been claimed by the mountain's curse, their faces pale and eyes hollow, forever trapped between worlds. Elara gripped the pendant around her neck, feeling the warmth of its magic push back against the chilling cold. Deep within the caverns, they found the second seal, a shard of deep violet crystal, embedded in the heart of a stone altar. But as Elara reached for it, a voice echoed through the cavern. Only the worthy may claim this. Before them appeared a figure draped in shadow, the Warden of Memories, a spirit bound to guard the second seal. You must face the truth of your past lives, the Warden intoned. Your memories are your chains and your salvation. Are you prepared to confront them? Elara's heart pounded, but she stepped forward. I have no choice. The Warden's eyes glowed as it gestured, and suddenly Elara was engulfed in visions, fragmented memories from lifetimes she had lived. She saw faces she recognized, lovers, friends, betrayers, all intertwined with the curse's dark history. She witnessed moments of joy shattered by violence, of hope crushed by despair. But among these memories was a deeper secret, one she hadn't known. She saw herself once more, this time not as a victim, but as a betrayer. In one lifetime, Elara had been the one who had sealed the pact with the dark entity, offering the brides in exchange for power and immortality. Tears streamed down her face as she confronted the weight of her own sins. The cavern trembled as the Warden's voice grew louder. Accept your past, or be consumed by it. Elara closed her eyes, the truth settling within her like a stone. She whispered, I accept it. The Warden bowed, the shadows dissipating. The second seal was now hers. As they exited the caverns, the storm had passed. But Elara knew the journey ahead would only grow darker. The curse was not just a force outside of her, it was part of her. And to break free, she would have to face every fragment of her fractured soul. The horizon burned with the first light of dawn as Elara and Myra stood before the ancient altar atop Mount Amendar, the place where the curse had begun centuries ago, and where it must end. The air was thick with anticipation and the weight of countless souls waiting for release. In her hand, Elara held the 7 seals, glowing softly with power, each one a fragment of the curse she had painstakingly reclaimed. Her heart pounded like a war drum, not with fear, but with the resolve of 1,000 lifetimes. Beside her, Myra unsheathed her blade, its edge glinting in the morning sun. This is it, Elara. The final binding. Once the seals are placed on the altar, the curse will unravel or consume us all. Elara nodded. Then let's finish this. They approached the altar, a massive stone slab etched with runes pulsating with energy. Elara placed each seal carefully inlaid within carved indentations shaped like petals of a lotus, symbolizing purity, rebirth, and enlightenment. As the seventh seal clicked into place, a surge of energy exploded outward, shaking the mountain to its core. The sky darkened, clouds swirling like a vortex overhead. From the shadows stepped forth a figure cloaked in darkness, the last vestige of the ancient pact, Darius, his eyes blazing with fury and desperation. "You think you can undo what was forged by blood and sacrifice?" he hissed. "You are but a fleeting shadow in the eternal design." Elara faced him, unwavering. "I am the bearer of the bloodline. The bearer of the hope to end this eternal nightmare." A battle of wills ignited. Darius unleashed torrents of dark magic, twisting the very earth beneath them. Elara's pendant and the seals glowed fiercely, countering his malice. Myra fought at her side, deflecting shadowy minions born from the curse itself. With every strike, the mountain trembled, the souls of the brides swirling around Elara in a protective gale of light and sorrow. Darius lunged, aiming to shatter the seals. Elara met him head-on, channeling the combined strength of the bride's freed spirits. A blinding light engulfed them both. When the light faded, Darius was no more, his form dissipated into harmless ash carried by the wind. The seals pulsed once more, then dissolved into pure energy that surged into the mountain, unraveling centuries of darkness. The air cleared, the sun broke through the clouds, bathing the mountain in golden light. Elara collapsed, exhausted but alive. Around her, the spirits of the 49 brides appeared one last time, smiling, radiant, finally free. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes gentle. "You have freed us all, Elara. And in doing so, freed yourself." Elara smiled weakly. "Is it really over?" "For now," Lyra said. "But remember, freedom is a path, not a destination." With that, the spirits ascended, dissolving into beams of light that rose to the heavens. Weeks later, Elara returned to her life. The scars remained, but so did a newfound peace. The pendant she wore was no longer a burden, but a symbol of resilience. She resumed her studies, knowing that the mountain's shadow was lifted, but the lessons of sacrifice, courage, and redemption would guide her forever. On a quiet night, as Elara gazed at the stars, a soft breeze whispered through the trees. A single, delicate petal floated down, etched with a faint glow. The mountain's blessing. A reminder that every ending is also a beginning. Title: The Seven Lives of Elara, a tale of cursed blood and eternal redemption. Description: In the shadow of Mount Amendar lies an ancient curse, one born from blood, betrayal, and a pact with dark forces. Elara, a modern woman thrust into the body of a bride long dead, must unravel the mystery of her haunted lineage. Bound by the souls of 49 trapped brides and pursued by malevolent spirits, Elara embarks on a perilous journey to reclaim 7 mystical seals that hold the key to breaking her family's curse. Facing spectral guardians, confronting her own fractured past, and battling the remnants of a dark legacy, Elara's quest is a harrowing battle between fate and free will. Will she succeed in ending the cycle of torment, or become yet another lost soul bound to the mountain's eternal shadow? The Seven Lives of Elara is a gripping tale of supernatural suspense, sacrifice, and the enduring power of redemption.